good.
So, yeah.
Thank you. Good morning. Can you hear me okay? With mask on? My name is Katina Harris, and I'm the president of Richmond Education Association. And we're holding a press conference today because of some concerns of our educators and ESPs. We're not here today to condemn our districts, but to talk about the Omicron variant and how it's forcing our school districts to reassess the balance between exercising caution and trying to rebuild normal school functioning. As we are grappling with the difficult questions that Omicron raises, the surge has also caused a crisis of understaffing that seems to be leaving many decision makers paralyzed. Now is not the time to eliminate one of the few mitigation strategies that are available to us. We're already facing an overall teacher shortage and an immediate staffing crisis. So with this decision to rescind the mask mandate, this will push many staff members over the edge and into neighboring districts or out of the profession altogether. The 3 local unions are also coming together collectively to outline changes in schools that can make us respond appropriately to the nature of the crisis. The hope is that all 3 districts will adopt some changes together and help our schools weather the storm of the pandemic. For Richmond Public Schools, we're asking for the metric by which we can determine school closure from exposure to the variant in our schools. Virtual instruction is significantly less effective than in-person instruction, we know. It also reduces attendance, leads to mental and emotional struggles for our students, and creates a massive issue with childcare that has incredibly damaging ripple effects, especially for our low-income families. Given how much better in-person learning is, virtual learning should only be used when absolutely necessary. With these thoughts in mind, we decided to focus on the following 6 areas: protecting high-risk individuals, improving transparency and awareness that causes our districts to function on certain levels, improving awareness about when someone has exposed and if they are infected, improving contact tracing and increasing testing, increasing virtual learning opportunities to meet the demand, creating clear metrics to determine when and where virtual learning needs to be utilized, and improving staff working conditions. Thank you.
Good afternoon, or morning still, everyone. I'm Christine Melendez. I am the president of the Chesterfield Education Association. And let me pull up my talking points. We, the Chesterfield Education Association, are looking to Chesterfield County Public Schools to provide the following: KN95 masks and take-home COVID tests readily accessible and available to staff and students, as neighboring districts have already provided. 10-day quarantine for staff and students unless a test-to-return policy is in place. Continued contact tracing and maintaining the county COVID reporting dashboard with fidelity. A clearly written and communicated plan to maintain safe and equitable in-person learning that discloses the minimum percentage of instructional staff needed in a building, and staff choice in giving up their planning period for coverage without repercussions or disciplinary action upon refusal. Quería también usar esta oportunidad, hablarle a la comunidad hispana y dejarles saber que nosotros, como los profesionales que estamos en el salón, estamos aquí para ayudarles a sus familias y para proteger a sus familias. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Patrick Miller. I'm the president of the Henrico Education Association. So good morning, friends and fellow educators and colleagues. We've been told time and time again that these times we are currently doing our best to survive are unprecedented, and I disagree. The exploitation of workers is far from unprecedented in a right-to-work state, notoriously hostile to anyone who strives to improve their working conditions. And the exploitation of workers is not unprecedented, and it is not just the pandemic that's created the crisis we face today. Rather, this pandemic, paired with the continued exploitation of education workers, wall to wall, from classroom to clinic, from bus ramp to basketball court, have profoundly damaged our working conditions. And our working conditions are our students' learning conditions. When scores of teachers are forced to give up their planning time to cover classes, poor working conditions for educators become poor learning conditions for children. And when a despotic governor puts his political career above the health of his constituents, unsafe working conditions for educators become unsafe learning conditions for children. So the exploitation of workers is not unprecedented, and neither is pitting parents against teachers. And to that point, I must repeat, our working conditions are our students' learning conditions. So we call upon our districts to put the health, safety, and education of their students above the political whims of the executive. We need clear guidelines for school closures. No teacher, no administrator, no parent, and no child is demanding all schools return to virtual learning. Nor does anyone wish this for an entire school district. However, when hundreds of educators are homesick, quarantining, or caring for a sick family member, we cannot reasonably expect all learning to take place in person until there are enough healthy professionals capable of staffing our buildings. The lack of consistent policies around masks, testing, and closures puts lives at risk, especially the lives of disabled, immunocompromised, and vulnerable members of our community. So I applaud my fellow educators in Chesterfield for exercising their rights today with their walk-in, and my fellow educators in Richmond for winning collective bargaining from their school board. If we're serious about creating equitable working and learning conditions in our schools, then our health, safety, and dignity will need to be legally protected in a collectively bargained contract. Without these protections, all we can do now is demand freedom. The freedom to teach and learn in schools that are guided by health, safety, and justice.
You have any questions?
I'm also curious, and anyone can chime in, if your districts have given clear communication to you all on what to do if students or families don't wear masks and say that they have the right to under the executive order.
For Richmond, we have communication to encourage students to put their mask on. Some educators are creating reward programs as well for students who come in with their mask on.
And you said what programs?
Rewards programs.
Rewards.
Yeah.
Okay, so the communication is ultimately for teachers to help enforce the district.
Yes. Yes.
I saw an email to Chesterfield School that said basically to separate students who are wearing masks and who aren't wearing masks today, and basically an email that basically stated if students aren't wearing a mask, offer them one, but if they say no, to just not make it a big deal and send them to class anyways. Is that something that being sent to educators at certain schools in Chesterfield?
As far as I have been made aware, the directive from the county to all has been that for now we are maintaining our mitigation strategies. The majority of the schools have responded to faculty by saying if you do have a student that refuses, to make them aware, and they have become the direct point of contact in regards to how to handle the situation.
But they're not being told to just tell the kid it's okay and go to class?
Not that I'm aware, but it varies by school, as our schools do have a lot of autonomy.
repeat that?
Yeah, if you all are saying masks should be in schools, why not just ask the requirement it to be required for teachers to keep them on rather than leave it?
Well, as a parent, I want to speak as a parent for 1 second if I can. We want everybody to be safe, and most of the time wearing the mask not only keeps you safe, it keeps family members at home safe, it keeps the students in the classroom safe, and we know that this variant has made thousands of children sick. And so I would encourage everyone to communicate with their parents, connect with their parents, and we together with the parents, we stand with the parents on their decisions for their children and for the health and safety of our staff and students in the building.
Across the board, you guys have all mentioned that you wanted clearer guidelines for when schools close and you guys return to virtual learning. Was there any clear indication of what guideline that would be? What threshold are you guys approaching that you want this to be? Any just clear details about that?
Well, as I mentioned in our requests from our district, there should be in some information somewhere the number of instructional staff necessary to staff a building safely and equitably. Additionally, Fairfax County Public Schools released very specific guidance notating 3 different levels of instruction. The first level was to maintain learning as it is, maybe combine classes. I believe the next level was to make specific classes asynchronous. And then the third level was to make that building virtual until they're able to staff safely. And it would be reviewed daily to ensure that we can bring students back into the building as quickly as possible. So we are looking for something similar to that.
You kind of touched on this earlier with the mask and parents. Governor Melendez was elected by the last group of unions, which has proven his stance of letting the parents decide. So, as unions, do you feel like you know better than the parents, or what are you exactly saying?
I think we're standing for the health and safety of our children and their families at home, which includes their parents. And 79% of members of the Virginia Parent-Teacher Association have come out clearly saying that they want masks to remain in school in order to mitigate the spread of the pandemic.
Are you worried about any separation of kids in the classroom? Are you worried, like, what could it do to students if they're separated by mask wearing and not mask wearing? Are you worried that could have effects on children? Wondering why maybe I can't sit with Mary did before, or why I can't sit with my friend. Is that a concern you have among, students who might be separated if this does happen? Because I did see an email that said to separate students, if they want to wear masks.
Well, just at this time, our districts have all been extremely clear as of today that the rules around masks and policies around masks are being determined at the district level, not at building level, neither by the governor's office, while the governor himself is encouraging parents to listen to school principals while this executive order is being reviewed in court.
I'm sure you saw an email out to parents saying that Superintendent Roberts is meeting with instruction today, and that there was probably a meeting in the week before that the pre-discussed meeting with both what do you expect from that, and are you hoping that all this information that you and the rest of the CA is providing will help the learning?
Thank you for that question. So the Chesterfield School Board will probably reconvene this week, probably to take action, depending on the guidance provided by the Superintendent of Instruction of the state. This is a perfect opportunity to remind school board members that they are elected officials and that their decisions are supposed to be reflective of the constituents who elected them. And according to the public comments submitted January 20th for the meeting this past week, 1,728 comments were in favor of masks, and 583 were in favor of parental choice when it came to that. I would say that that is a majority of constituents who are still in favor of keeping masks, at least during this surge, because we know this is one of the most contagious forms of COVID. I myself caught it during the new year. Being as safe as I could, I still got it. Survived after a week, but I would not wish it upon anyone. And I believe that our community is coming from that place, that if we're able to, at least for now, stop the spread, that we would prefer it to be that way. Us understanding that eventually things may change.
As far as Richmond Public Schools, the mask mandate that we had in place will continue to be in place for the health and safety of our students and staff and families. Students first, always. Thank you.